Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
I've been going out with a girl, her name is Julie, but last night she said to me when we were watching telly.
It was crass, it was crude, but it's what blokes do when they've had a drink or they get together. The comments made by Donald Trump all those years ago. Nigel Farage, his friend, possibly even associate, challenged yesterday on that ITV debate. Peter in Coventry. Do you agree, Peter? Good morning.
Well, hello, Nick. How are you? And I'm going to be predictable. Great show, by the way.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you very much, Governor.
Everybody says that.
Well,
Well, I
Boris
just
Johnson
listened to your research.
Oh, yes.
And I was thinking to myself, well, hang on a minute. Jo Swinton, isn't she a man-hating feminist? Because it seems to me like every time a man makes a comment or does something just slightly wrong, what you've got now is you've got the people like Jo Swinton,
Swinson.
the rest of them. Oh, yeah, Swinton. Sorry.
It's all right. No, that's my job. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but you've got these people in power that are depressing men. Now, take this example, Nick. For example,
Go ahead.
I'm a builder.
Right.
I'm a builder. Right.
Yep.
10 years ago, if I saw a pretty girl, I'd wolf whistle her and go, "Hello, darling."
Right.
Right? Because that's what I am. I'm a man.
Yes.
I'm a man, yeah.
Doesn't mean you
That's
have
what-
to do that, of course.
So, sorry, yeah, but the point I'm trying to put across is...
When did you stop saying hello, darling, and wolf whistling at attractive women?
When I realised it was becoming illegal. You know,
Right.
because that's what it is now. You're not allowed to even look at a girl.
Right.
I daren't even look at a girl now when I'm driving down the road. I'm a man. I'm a man's man. I always have been.
Right.
But now
Okay.
I'm scared to death in case I look at a girl the wrong way,
Right.
and she might report me for, you know, for
Well, I think you're allowed
harassment or whatever.
Peter, do you think you're stretching it a little bit? Because you're allowed to look at women as you're driving along, well, providing your eyes are on the road as well.
How long for? How
Well,
long
I
are we
don't-
allowed to even look at women? Because we've got these feminists that have got into the schools, and they're also turning our young people, young boys, into women with all this...
Let's come at this a
neutral
different way.
sexual
Let's come at this a different way. Given that it was 2005, and given that the American people seem to have forgiven him for it, but a US president using language like that, albeit 14 years ago, how acceptable or unacceptable was that?
Well, if it was in private and somebody obviously snitched on him and recorded it, to knowing full well that he could become president, then, you know, the person who's in the wrong is the person who recorded it, not Mr. Trump. Because if I'm in a pub,
Right.
okay, I'm not as crude as that, but if I'm in a pub and I see a pretty girl and I'm with my mates,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, I'll say, and
You're going to say what a jolly pretty girl she is with a lovely shape.
well,
Rather more crudely, rather more crudely
Well,
than that. Right.
Yes, but you know, this is what I'm getting at. Today's man now feels suppressed. This is what I'm saying, because we cannot even wink at a girl or smile at them. You feel intimidated.
Right.
You know, because
Do you really feel suppressed? Do you genuinely feel suppressed?
Well, I'm a happily married man now, of course.
Right,
But,
of course.
you know, so I don't, and this is honest to God. So I look at a pretty girl. Yeah, I'll look at a pretty girl, but I won't.
Right.
I won't,
Yeah, you weren't doing
I won't
that. Yeah.
approach a girl.
No, God,
you know,
no.
I won't approach a girl because of that reason, because I'm happily married.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. It's Victoria in Stansted. You're on the radio. Victoria, what are you going to tell me? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. I just rang up in direct response to the chap who called, who was an ex-builder. It's not about how he feels and how restricted him and his friends feel, and what a shame it is that they can no longer express, you know, exactly how they feel when they say. It's about how women feel. That's the whole point. The point is that their comments that single out somebody walking down the street and make them feel uncomfortable and self-conscious. The guys who didn't need to make their comments, they make the women feel uncomfortable needlessly. So it's about how the women feel. No, it's so typical that we have to listen to, oh, now we don't feel we can say what we want. It's such a shame.
Do you think, as Mr. Farage says, when you get a bunch of blokes together and they've had a few beers, do you think the talk gets a bit lurid?
I think if they're talking together, that's a separate issue.
Does it matter?
No, I don't think it particularly matters. When it matters is when a lady or a girl is walking to work, trying to focus on whatever deadline she has to meet or whatever it is important that she is doing, and somebody throws her off course, making a comment on a load of scaffolding, or as they drive wind the window down and shout directly at them. It does make you feel terrible. For
do
the
you
rest
think
of the
some
day.
women like to be whistled at or cheered at or hello?
No, I don't think
Well, hold on, Victoria, hold on the line, because I think I found you one actually in the same county, Deborah of Colchester. You don't mind it, Deborah. Good morning.
Well, no, it doesn't happen much now, but in the past, yes, it's nice. It makes you... It's a nice feeling to know that someone thinks you're attractive.
Victoria?
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, I'm in a totally different headset. I'd want somebody to find me attractive for very different reasons other than my physical appearance.
Well, how are they going to get to know you, your knowledge or your intellect or your whatever it might be, your level of learning as they're driving a scaffolding truck down Stansted High Street?
Make no comment whatsoever then.
But Deborah, you like a comment, don't you?
Well, I do, yes.
How old is Deborah?
It makes you feel nice.
Makes you feel nice.
What's wrong with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. All these feminists are trying to suppress what men like to just give the odd comment. It's nothing out of proportion. It's gone completely out of proportion, this.
Victoria?
I think Deborah's never received some of the comments that I've received then.
Oh, well, no, if they're vile comments, I think what Deborah's saying she likes is a sort of cheery hello, darling, and I can't wolf whistle,
I think Deborah's maybe from a different generation, and I think it's more important to address the now.
You don't have to answer this, Deborah. Will you tell us your age? You don't have to, but if you'd like to tell me the sort of rough age group, your 40s, 50s, I don't know, whatever you might be, 20s?
No, I'm not that.
50s?
Between 50 and 50s.
You're in your 50s, okay. Deborah says Victoria, it's not that sort of ancient or old, is it really, when one thinks about it, Victoria?
Well, when you walk down the street, Nick, do you want some women to shout out with her face
I'd love it.
Notice what side of your trousers
I
you're
would
wearing?
honestly, I would love it. I know
you're desperate to play the devil's advocate.
No, I would love it. I'd be hilarious.
Really?
No, really. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's an interesting thought. Ladies, if I may call you that. Women, I'm sure I can. Thank you, Victoria. And to Deborah, you had the last word. Let's carve out a minute and a bit to do some of the emails, texts and tweets that have come in on this and other subjects. Charlotte in Sutton, my daughter goes to a school in South London here we are. Every day she has to run around for 20 minutes. It's called the 20-minute mile. They put their coats on, they go outside and just let off steam. If it's raining, it's in the school hall. Their PE lessons are extra to this. You don't say whether it's a primary or secondary school. That is a tremendous idea. We should be doing more of that, I would have thought. Seems a damn good idea. Kim in Stoke-on-Trent. I left high school in 1975. We started the day at 8:50 in the morning and finished at 4:20 in the afternoon. Also, we didn't actually have any cash to spend after school. Maybe a small treat on Friday. It was a different world. Last word on this. John in Brighton. Do you support the school or the takeaway owners? Good morning.
John, I think Nick, I think the important thing to remember here is that there isn't any way that these kids can eat a lot of the time. So them grabbing something on the way home is possibly the only meal they'll have the whole day. And who's to say that when they go home, like me, when I grew up, my parents could only afford to feed me chips and bits of chicken and fish fingers and stuff. And I've grown up absolutely normal. I'm not obese.
But my previous caller says about the health problems we're storing up for these kids, though. Lastly, John.
Listen, I'm 55 years old. There's nothing wrong with me at all. For goodness sake, I'm fine. And I don't over-exercise. I don't under-exercise. I'm a normal Joe out there.
Well, you look after yourself, John.
Philip in Wantage. Hello there.
Hello.
What should happen to jihadis who leave Britain or anywhere else and go to the Middle East to fight for organisations like Islamic State?
Yes, if you go off to fight for an organisation like the Islamic State, which is perpetually committing war crimes and other barbarisms, you should be stripped of both your civil rights and human rights. It's like declaring a person an outlaw in the past, so you should no longer have the protection that's given to people who offer normal human traits. So
well, what should that... But what does that amount to if they come back? You'd have them back here, would you?
I would not seek to get them back, but if they made their way back as soon as they arrived, I would arrest them instantly. It would be summary justice. if we could prove simply that they had gone overseas to be a jihadi, they would then be sentenced to life imprisonment. We would have a special prison where they were segregated from other prisoners so that no one in there was not a jihadi. So if they wanted to radicalise each other, they could. We could even run a zero-carbon experiment in the prison so they didn't have access to any hydrocarbon products.
Oh, Philip. It was going so well until it wasn't. Thank you. I mean, to a degree, I agree with your hardline approach, but I think we got lost. We got lost in translation towards the end there, didn't we? Philip in Wantage, thank you.
Jerry next in Chelsea. Jerry, what's cutting through to you? Hello.
Hi, Eddie. Can I just say quickly that socially I would normally be Labour and I've never voted Tory, but I really believe in Brexit, so I've been torn about what I should do. And I've watched the debates, I listen to your radio all the time, and social media is getting my attention lately, especially today. I saw a post which wasn't telling you which party to vote for, but it was a post on a Brexit Votes Matter page on Facebook, and it just resonated with me. It brought a tear to my eye, and it was just saying, it was like, people like me, I believe in Brexit, but I'm normally Labour, but Labour won't deliver Brexit, so I'm having to go against my own beliefs, if you like.
And who did the ad?
There was a page this morning. It wasn't telling you who to vote for. It was just a short statement on a Facebook page called Brexit Votes Matter.
Well, I'm just curious, as somebody must have done it, somebody trying to influence you, and heaven knows, Jerry, they brought a tear to your eye, so something worked.
They did.
But you don't know really who put it up there and who it's from.
Well, it's pro-Brexit, but it doesn't support any political party, so it might be someone like Leave EU behind it or something, but it never says, it just says vote for your pro-Brexit candidate, whether they're Labour, Tory or BP, a Brexit party. They don't tell you which party to vote for, but it was about democracy. It was just saying, look, if you believe in democracy and the values of democracy, you've got to uphold the democratic decision. So I'm going with my heart, says go with Brexit, which means voting for Boris, voting for Tory, and I've never done that.
And you've sort of astonished yourself.
I have, because I'm thinking, no, really, I've been beating myself up every day, and I'm thinking, Boris could be a liar, he could let us down, he could not deliver Brexit, I don't know. But if I want Brexit, I've got to vote Tory, even though it's against my normal values. You see what I'm saying?
I do, and this goes to what Sam Jeffers from Who Targets Me was telling me just a little bit earlier. I don't know if you heard him. He was saying that, particularly in the closing days of this campaign, on social media, you are going to be, not just you, but we're all going to be bombarded with stuff that reinforces how we already think. And it sounds like somebody's very cleverly thought, oh, Jerry, we know Jerry. Yeah. He's not sure how... He's definitely for Brexit, but he's not sure how to vote. Yeah. We need to keep him on side.
Exactly. And their message seems to be vote for the pro-Brexit candidate in your constituency. It never tells you what party.
But are you curious as to exactly who put it up there?
Well, it's one of these Facebook groups, so they don't seem to spend a lot of money, because you can see how much money they spend. It's not a big money group.
Yeah, but Jerry, it brought a tear to your eye. It brought a tear to your eye.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Did the John Lewis commercial this year? Did the John Lewis ad bring a tear to your eye? Did it? No. And look at the millions they spent on that. Do
you want me to read you the statement? It's very short. I'll read it you, see if it brings a tear to your eye.
Okay, I'm already welling up, Jerry, but go on.
All right. It doesn't mention any party, so okay. I'll just read it as it is. It says, here we go. Yeah. It says, Dear Remainers, you simply don't care or understand that the most important things in life are not financial or tangible. Freedom, democracy, free speech, pride in your nation and your culture are our so-called values, values which many of us hold dear. I will tell you that we took oaths, and many of us put our lives on the line to protect these values. It means more than you will ever know. That's what it says.
Oh, Jerry, I'm going to have to play some music. Sorry, Jerry, I just got a bit emotional there.
So we know the problem is there. I think you'd have to be in a vanishingly small minority to say that there is no problem. There clearly is a problem, and you can point to all sorts of evidence. The level of awareness, I think George and I wouldn't agree with that. But is it okay to cause children sleepless nights? Christopher in Tolworth. Christopher, you're on the radio. What do you say? Good morning.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Grand, thank you. But what about you and your view on this?
My view has always been the same ever since she's basically, become into the public domain, so to speak, that I'm absolutely 100% with Jeremy Clarkson. I mean, I know that he's got a bit of a bad rap at times, and he says, he speaks from the heart. There's no doubt about that, and I agree with him. I think, this girl, I mean, okay, we all want to be... We want to be aware of what's going on, but, in my view, the world's not going to blow up in the next 100 years, or 1,000 years.
Wow.
If this, the whole changing of the weather situation, is to blame with what we're doing now, then I'm amazed. But this girl, I mean, I can't believe she's not normal. Do you know what I mean?
Well, hang on. What in that she's so committed?
Well, I think that there's, it's absolutely over the top, everything she says. I mean, she's 16 years old. She hasn't done anything with her life yet. Mm-hmm. And, if she was sort of like 30 years old, 40 years old, something like that, she's lived a life, then I might sort of like listen a little bit more. We're all aware of the situation.
Okay.
We do... I mean, in this country, I think we actually do reasonably well with, trying to save the planet, so to speak. She wants to be, sitting herself in China or something like that, and, trying to talk them into changing the world.
I mean, do you not? And apparently, the young woman has Asperger's, which might inform some of the way because she's so totally committed. Do you not admire her level of commitment, though? Not necessarily.
I mean, I admire that she's focused on something, but I just don't think that we need it.
Grateful for the starting point, Christopher. Thank you, James in Barnet. James, your reaction to this war of words now? Good morning.
Morning, Nick.
Hello.
I'd say this really winds me up, and not because it's against climate change. I'd say I'm a massive eco-warrior when it comes to that. But with things that she says, like pointing fingers at the older generations, my dad was 77 when he passed away, and he had a wind-up radio. So how much pollution was he causing when he was a kid? So I think, look, it's all well and good trying to make a difference. I definitely think that's something that should be done. But trying to add the UK's output of pollution to their output every year.
Yeah.
So I think until that's being resolved, pointing fingers at your generation and older generations is pretty pointless, to be honest. It's her generation that have used the most power and fossil fuels and will continue to.
Well, they won't have used as much as me, will they? Because I've owned a car for about 40 years. I mean, isn't that right? No?
Well, you have, but look how many electronic devices she's used throughout her life compared to what you would have done for the first 40 years of yours.
When they weren't even... I see what you're saying. James, got it. Thank you for that. I understand you. But what I appreciate to tell necessarily from the audio whether it is sexist and dystopian, I speak of an advert for Peloton, which, as a result of its broadcast, the company has lost around £1.5 billion after a backlash against the Christmas commercial. It's been viewed almost 2 million times on YouTube. I'm sure it's available on lbc.co.uk. I'll talk you through it in a moment. It shows a woman receiving an exercise bike from her partner on Christmas morning. Can you think of anything better to get your wife or girlfriend or partner? They love it. But I got her a food mixer last year, and I think it was a Hostess trolley the year before that. So she's so happy to get... Hello, love. Your arse is getting a bit big, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. I mean, your bum does look big in this, so it's time you got on a Peloton. Here's the ad.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Now.
A Peloton? Give it up for our first time ride. All right, first ride. I'm a little nervous, but excited. Let's do this. 5 days in a row. You surprised? I am. 6 a.m. Yay.
Rising with the sun.
That was totally worth it. Let's go, Grace in Boston. 50 rides. She just said my name. A year ago, I didn't realize how much this would change me. Thank you.
This holiday, give the gift of Peloton.
I've never seen a girl so excited to get a bit of exercise equipment. Oh, my God! It's not a white Bentley convertible, it's a Peloton. That girl is not carrying a spare ounce of... she's a stunning-looking young woman with a beautiful little daughter, a very good-looking husband. Honestly, compared to some women in America who've got an arse the size of Texas, they need a Peloton. This girl does not. You could put advertising on those women's backsides. Let me tell you, you could write the whole 12 days of Christmas on there. Not a problem. Not a problem. So why get this stunning girl one? But is it sexist? We'll move away from there. We come back to the story with which we started this hour, which is Jeremy Clarkson on a promotional tour in Australia, making disobliging comments about Greta Thunberg, saying that she's dangerous and that she's mad and she's a Swede with a temper and that she should go back and study, she should go back to school and study science to help find solutions. Not sure with it, but this bit, she is unnecessarily frightening children, and that's what interests me. Molly in Chelmsford, what's your view on that, Molly? You're on the radio. Good morning.
Morning, Nick.
Yes.
Actually, I thought the girl was being used, actually, by the fanatic adults.
Right.
She's very outspoken.
You don't think she's committed herself? She looks jolly. When I've seen her, I've never met the young woman, but when I've seen her, she looks jolly committed to me. You don't think that's for real?
Yeah, she sounds it. She's come across very well. You know, she puts the project across very well. But I still think she's being used. You know, she's getting across to the younger people.
Yeah.
Not so long ago, I saw a video where she was at a press conference with a few others and adults.
Yes.
Putting the questions to her. She couldn't answer them. She was passing the questions on to the other people on the panel.
In fairness, she's only 16. No?
Sorry?
I say she's only 16. She doesn't necessarily... I don't know that we all had the answers to everything at 16, did we?
This is it. She's only 16. She should be at school. You know, she should be learning a bit more.
All right.
You know, it's so...
All right. So, some people will say, of course, the way she's got her message through is absolutely unparalleled. Molly, thank you. Michael in Christchurch. Michael, your reaction to Greta Thunberg? Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning to you.
Hello, sir.
I think she's been exploited by the media for their own ends. One thing I want to ask the question, if I may, and I haven't got the answer to this, is that when the Romans were in Britain, they grew grapes in Newcastle, and it was hot then, and then it took, and that was in word zero, and then 1500 the Thames froze. So the time, so another 1,000 years will get hot again, and it's getting hot. So what was the sea levels when the Romans were here?
Oh, well, you see, now, Steve Allen would know what the sea levels were when the Romans were here, but because he was on broadcasting even then, but I'm afraid I don't. But I get the point you're driving at, which is that there used to be the theory that much of this is cyclical. I think, in all honesty, science has probably moved on from then, and without doubt there is an issue. Michael, thank you.
Let's talk about some of the other pledges, just briefly, before we let you go. You say that within 100 days of being elected, you'll legislate to enshrine your funding plans for the NHS and schools in law. Why do you need to legislate to do that? If you're in government, do you not trust yourself to carry out those plans?
Well, I think what we want to do is to reassure people that we are really serious about this, that we put the money into the schools and hospitals in much the same way, if you remember, during the Parliament before last, we legislated on the aid budget to give people reassurance of our commitment to this. This is about saying to the British people, look, at this election, there's a clear choice. If we get a Conservative majority, we will be able to get Brexit done, then deliver the money for the schools and the hospitals.
All right, well,
or alternatively, we will be spending 2020 negotiating a relationship
We're going to talk to Labour later. Oliver Dowden, you've mentioned the figures. Now, the figures the Prime Minister uses are £34 billion for the NHS and £14 billion for schools. But those numbers are neither accurate nor honest, are they?
They're exact. In fact, to be precise, I suppose it's £33.9 billion.
No, well,
NHS.
we've asked the Institute for Fiscal Studies about both those numbers. They've told us for the NHS number, you've ignored inflation, and for the schools number, you've ignored inflation and double-counted each year. The actual numbers, taking inflation into account, are £20.5 billion for the NHS, not £34 billion, and £4.3 billion for schools. Not £14 billion. I mean, it's all very well writing your plans into law, but if you're using inaccurate numbers, is that law going to be worth the paper it's written on?
No, I heard that the Brexit Party wasn't going to be represented around my area, so I haven't got anyone to vote for.
Oh, so you're not... Sorry, I've misunderstood. You're not voting at all now?
No, I'm not voting at all. No, I don't think... Well, Labour doesn't agree with Brexit, and I don't think Boris will do the Brexit that I want. I don't know. Yeah, so the only one I was going to vote for was Brexit, and now I can't vote. I can't.
You've got nobody standing in your constituency for the Brexit Party. What about I suppose, arguably, the next best thing?
I'm not doing any of them. No, there's no next best thing.
And what is it about Boris Johnson's Brexit deal that you can't get behind?
I don't trust him, to be honest. I don't think he... I mean, he was standing there last night with Macron and the others, and yeah, I don't think he's going to do Brexit. He's in with all the top people, isn't he? So he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it properly. He's in with all this.
You mean because of who he was talking to at that event at the Palace the other night?
Yeah, they're all in together.
Well, he's the Prime Minister. He's the Prime Minister. He was at a summit. He's bound to speak to them. He's got to speak to them. It's his job.
No, it's job. They were standing together, weren't they? All like pally and...
Well, what do you want him to do? Swan around punching people at the Palace because he's going to deliver Brexit? Come on, he's got to talk to people.
Yeah, I know. But that was like, you could just tell from the... You can just tell from the body language. It's just... I don't know. I don't know what goes on, but...
And what is it about Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party that makes you think? Well, because the truth is they're not. But the truth is, Karen, they're not going to get into power. You know that, don't you? Even if they were standing in your constituency, they're not going to get into power. So you were hoping for an MP, were you?
They would have had a say. They might have got in with
a few MPs
and had a say and pushed for the Brexit that the everyday people want, not. Obviously, it's Brexit. It's going to be a wishy-washy Brexit. We all know it, you know. It's going to be wishy-washy.
Why is it going to be wishy-washy? You just want to walk away and abandon everything. No arrangements, no trade deal. Is that what you want? Do you know what you want from Brexit?
Brexit is just getting out of the political thing and the whole... You know, why are we governed by these people?
We're not governed by them. If they were, we wouldn't all be voting next Thursday, would we, Karen?
Give all their money to them. Where do we don't know where that money goes.
Let me ask you, though, Karen, I'm just going to try and talk you down off this ledge because I think people should use their vote. How can you, on the one hand, complain that we are governed by these people, whoever these people are, and be given a vote? Hang on, let me finish. You've been given a vote. You've been given an opportunity to vote in your own nation, in your own parliament, and you're rejecting it. You're rejecting it. You're turning yourself into somebody without a vote. Nobody else is doing that to you. You are doing that to you.
My vote gone. He's disappeared into thin air.
It hasn't.
I gave my vote. Now I can't vote again in this silly general election because there's no one to vote for. I'm not voting again. It's annoying. You know, I don't...
Well, I think you're being silly, Karen.
I've got nobody to vote for. I voted Brexit. Where's Brexit gone? It's gone into thin air. They think
it hasn't. Boris Johnson is delivering Brexit.
He's not delivering it. He won't deliver that.
He said. Well, he's got a deal with the European Union that takes us out of the European Union. So that's Brexit, isn't it? Well, it is. I guarantee you, if he gets a majority, we'll be out of the European Union by early winter next year.
Yeah, right.
Well, we will.
I don't believe any of it. Oh, Tony Blair done it for me with politics and his Iraq war and his weapons of mass destruction. That's it. I've stopped believing politicians since then. And since then, it's all been downhill.
Oh, they're terrible. I mean, God, a lot of them are terrible liars. You've got no argument from me for that.
People went out and voted for Brexit 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we haven't got it. What is the rest of the world thinking?
But Karen, the current Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party says every single day on Twitter and out of his actual mouth, attached to his actual head, let's get Brexit done, vote for Conservatives, give me a majority, we will be out by the end of January. What about that don't you believe?
A million times. He can say that a million times. I don't believe him. You can say things out of your mouth. I don't believe him.
Oh, God. What will it take for you to believe? What will it take for you to believe?
Did you believe that? No.
Pardon?
I didn't believe it.
Believe what?
weapons of mass destruction. What a load of rubbish that was.
Well, should we stick to Brexit? Should we stick to Brexit just for and this election?
Brexit. Yeah, let's stick to Brexit.
Well, you could look at Nigel Farage and say that he hasn't stuck to his word all the time as well. So why do you still keep faith with him?
I'm not keeping faith with him. I'm keeping faith with what it is, the Brexit. Get out of.
But he has said, I believe Boris Johnson. The leader of the Brexit Party has said...
I didn't the other week. He said, I'm a bit worried about now what Boris is saying. Oh, my word,
So you've lost faith in them all. But if a Brexit Party candidate was in your constituency, you'd vote for them?
Yes, I would, yes.
OK. Well, it's been interesting to talk to you, Karen. I think you do a bit of sort of political self-harm against yourself, albeit, but it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Karen in Stratford. Karen, you're through to Joe Swinson. Go ahead, Karen. Good morning.
Hiya, good morning.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. I just wanted to put a question to you, and I wanted you to explain what is it with you and your party putting forward this sort of gender-neutral, children can go to school, boys can go to school wearing skirts, and why do you think that that's acceptable? I mean, we live in a free society right now, but what is going on with this? Do you think that it's right that you're allowing this to go through?
What's the philosophy behind it, Joe Swinson?
Well, it's really about giving kids choice, and what it came out of is we had a young member of the Lib Dems who came along to our conference. She, I think, was 14 at the time, and she made the very good point that she was frustrated at school being told that she had to wear a skirt when she wanted to run about and play football and do handstands and all of those things that I think we'd all want kids to be able to have the freedom to do and not feel that they're constrained. And why should we be saying to girls at school, or indeed to boys, you have to wear this particular
So you'd allow your sons
outfit
to wear a dress, should they so desire?
If they wanted to, yeah. And I mean, my 5-year-old's got silver sparkly shoes. I think I might have technically bought them in the girls section, but he really wanted the silver sparkly shoes. So, he's got silver trainers. The sky is still there.
Karen, it's about
That
being...
is absolutely completely different. You can't... So you're going to say, right, so a child of, say, 5, a little boy, will say to his mum that I want to go to school wearing a skirt, and you don't think that this is going to increase bullying in schools, because you're saying it was one girl. This is not a majority. This is a minority. There is not a high percentage of children, boys, going to school wanting to wear skirts. And then the gender-neutral passports. Wait a minute, I identify as an alien. When is this going to stop? What are you doing to our kids?
Do you support gender-neutral passports?
Yes,
no, I don't.
No, sorry, I'm so sorry. Karen, I think I know where you are, Karen.
Yeah, I do. But just on just to respond to Karen's point there about what should 5-year-olds be allowed to do. I mean, we're not sort of forcing anybody. We're just saying that schools ought to have a policy that doesn't require boys and girls to be sort of separate, that they can choose. And do you know what? There's lots of girls who do want to wear trousers. In fact, in many schools, girls can wear trousers.
You don't think a little boy wearing a dress age 5 might be open to bullying?
Well, I think it's important that schools have policies in place to prevent and to deal with bullying.
Right.
And seriously, I mean, I've seen some young boys that that have worn skirts and so on. I mean, seriously, are we saying that if they want to do that, we should be policing them in some way?
Let's come back to passports. Do you not see the issue of national security if we don't have someone's gender on a passport? If you're seeking...
No, I'm afraid I genuinely don't.
Right, so let's say that we're trying to stop someone getting into or out of the country, and they are 5'9" with blonde hair and blue eyes. Can't we have their gender too?
Well, I think it gives people the opportunity to state their gender. So it's not saying you don't have gender listed. It just gives the option of saying male, female, or...
What do we say at Dover Docks or Gatwick or Heathrow? We're looking for a person. We can't say a man or a woman who might be seeking to enter the country 5'9" with blonde hair and blue eyes.
I mean, like, seriously, this is about how people identify.
This is about security.
No, it's really not. I'm sorry. It's really not.
You don't see at Dover Docks or Gatwick Airport. It would be quite nice to know someone's gender. Quite appropriate to know someone's gender.
I mean, seriously. I mean, how do you know somebody's gender? I mean, you're
if I'm trying to stop someone, I'm going to say it's a male, 5'9", with blue hair and with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah, and how are you going to check that, right? I mean, if
because then the staff know what they're looking for.
But I mean, on that basis, right? What happens? You're saying people could dress up to look like something different. I mean, I think if people are trying to enter the country illegally, they may well be deploying different ways of doing that. I don't think the letter on their passport on the gender thing is really going to be...
we have passports with X on it, and one of our citizens goes to Saudi Arabia or the Republic or China, where they're immediately imprisoned because they're X and they don't allow X into the country. What do we do then?
This is not about forcing people into any specific choice. Well, if they want to be, then they can choose that.
But what happens when they go to Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia doesn't recognise X? What do we do with them then?
Well, like, they can make that decision for themselves, Nick. But
they find themselves in Riyadh and they're British citizens and they've just been detained because they don't know whether they're man or woman.
So... if somebody is in difficulty in a foreign country and they're a British citizen, then we should be giving them the kind of consular assistance. I think the idea, there is already...
When they leave Gatwick, if they need a body check, who does it if it's an X?
Well,
if we fear they're carrying drugs on their person, who searches X?
Well, I think it would make sense for them to their wishes to be respected, right? I mean,
Hang on, so I'm a man and I could say I'd like to be searched by a woman or vice versa? As an X?
Hang on. There are people in this country...
Doesn't make sense, does it?
There are people in this country who do not define as male or female, right?
I get that.
And if somebody has a preference, just like...
Someone has a preference? So it's a preference?
No, if someone has a preference for who is searching them...
I'd like a woman to search me
this afternoon,
please, but I'll have a man tomorrow.
Who is searching them, then I don't see any legitimate reason why that should be denied, in the exact same way that if I go for a medical appointment, then if I'm going for a smear test or whatever, then I might make a request that I'd rather have that done by a woman. I might it's I just don't... I think there's a sort of hang-up that people have about this. Some people don't identify as male or female. It's not a massive deal. Get over it. It's not stopping anyone else getting on with their lives. And can we just be respectful to one another and treat people as the individuals that they are, recognising that this group of people in our society already feels very vulnerable and marginalised, already feels discriminated against, gets bullied, and can be victims of violence. Let's do these small things that can show that we are taking people seriously as the individuals that they are.
Karen, thank you for the call.
Here is the Treasury directly contradicting the Prime Minister on the Brexit that he is building his entire election campaign on. So the entire election campaign is built upon a lie. How do I know? The Treasury just told me. And now you're listening to me saying, no, it isn't. Shut up, James. No, it isn't. Actually, I don't know why I did a costive accent there. You could be very, very posh. No, it isn't. Talk me through how you end up there or how you can stay there. Here's the... Why would the Treasury secretly publish something? I don't know. Darren is in Woking. Darren, what would you like to say?
Morning, James.
Hello, mate.
I was looking at how we got into the rabbit hole because somehow that's slightly easier than how we get out of it, and they're both pretty difficult. But yes. I actually wonder, and I don't know if this is my age, so I'm 36, so I don't know if this is because I grew up majority under a sort of New Labour government, but I wonder if this is the coming of age of the spin doctor, and I obviously refer to Alistair Campbell. Now...
as in the ball he set rolling has delivered what we now see.
Yes, because what I think spin is about is testing boundaries of exaggeration.
Yes.
And as you test those boundaries and get away with more and more, you can exaggerate more and more. And one could argue that you end up in a place where you can just carry out barefaced lies. And
now, Alistair Campbell would furiously reject this, at which point you would say weapons of mass destruction, and he...
No, I would...
Oh, OK.
Sorry, I was a big New Labour supporter, and weapons of mass destruction, obviously, is the dodgy dossier and everything is what it is, but I was a big New Labour supporter, and generally to the left, but I'm also a Brexiter as well, as we've spoken before. So I wouldn't necessarily go back on the cliches of weapons of mass destruction and all of that. But I think it's not about. I'm not attacking him as an individual. It's a process that there hasn't ever been boundaries set to. So if you let your kid get away with more and more every day, you go from a place where things are a bit naughty to all of a sudden your house is being turned upside down and parents are getting hit by their 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, like I know this is going to be dodgy saying this to you. You might rip me apart, but when you look at the 350 million on the side of the bus, there was one word, in my opinion, that was wrong with that, and it was the word "send."
Right.
We send 350 million to the EU. We don't. We send 150, 160. But, we could go over old ground and debate that as well. But
that's not.
Yeah, and that is the spin. Now,
well, no, hang on. You can't be. The problem can't be with the word "send" if the numbers are wrong, mate.
Well, because I think it was designed from what I've read, Tim Shipman's book, but the Uncivil War, was it Brexit, the Uncivil War, whatever it was. Oh no, sorry, I'm confusing the two.
Don't worry, but I'm not splitting hairs. I'm just pointing out that the number wasn't true. So the problem with the bus was not the word "send."
No, if it said yeah, no, you are right.
And then the other bit of it. No, hang on, because this is quite dangerous what you've just said. Because the other bit of it that was missing was the implied suggestion that we would somehow be better off, gross, as a result of not paying our membership fees to the European Union, where the government's own economic analyses, this government, the one led by Boris Johnson, the man that ran Vote Leave, every single scenario sees economic damage. The only argument is about how much. So we are going to be worse off. And that bus not only got the number wrong, and under your analysis the word "send" wrong, but the implied suggestion that we would have money to spare as a result of leaving the European Union was a massive lie. So, anyway, back to the bus.
They get away with it.
Well, you fell for it.
The implied suggestion.
You fell for it.
No. I don't know. I mean, you speak to hundreds and hundreds of people. I genuinely, to this day, would say I didn't fall for 80% of it, and my reasons for voting Leave were very narrow. And I don't believe that we need straight. We're never, we're going to have straight bananas instead of bendy bananas. I don't necessarily believe freedom of movement is terrible for our country, and immigration is what's caused the problem.
But you gave your vote to the people that told all those lies.
I gave my vote to the cause of Leave.
No. You gave your vote to the people who told those lies. You gave your vote to the people that painted that bus. You gave your vote to the people who claimed we could have our cake and eat it. Whether you like it or not, Darren, you did.
I understand why you're saying that. But
No. You did. Did you give your vote to the people who told the lies, or did you give your vote to the people who were on the other side?
Well, there were lies on both sides.
No, there weren't.
There were.
No, there weren't. There were forecasts and analyses that have not been borne out by events. Mark Carney has done more to undermine his own economic forecasts than any Bank of England governor in history.
Let me make this point, James.
Well,
I agree
briefly.
with you.
Yeah, but you're still in denial, mate. You gave your vote to the liars.
You always say about Mark Carney on the morning of the referendum done everything he possibly could to break his own forecast. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, that is true. But what he should have done to substantiate
so he wasn't a liar, was he?
Vote, what he should have done, he spun it. He should have said before the vote, unless I do this on the morning of the referendum result, this is what it will lead to. And that is missed on both sides. And
but no, the whole point about a warning is that it's designed to stop people doing the stupid thing. You don't add on the end of the warning, by the way, if you do the stupid thing, don't worry, I'll look after you.
You don't add the truth, is what you're saying, John.
No. You don't add the possibility that people are going to ignore the warning. You ignored the warning, Darren. Don't get cross with him. At some point between now and Judgment Day, you're going to have to start getting cross with yourself. It's 11:13. And there, in a nutshell, is the problem. That's the choice. Darren's a decent fella, bright, not racist, didn't vote for bendy bananas, but he still, somewhere, clings to the notion that what he did in June of 2016 wasn't really stupid. And he's picking on the people that warned him that it was for not having told him more about what they would do to unpick the damage he's inflicted on his own country. Talking about a bus, saying that the problem with it was the word "send." The number was false. The idea that we'd be better off, which the bus was designed to inflate, was false. And don't take my word for it. Take the word of the government currently led by the man that led Vote Leave, the man who said that trading between Northern Ireland and Great Britain would be unfettered. The man whose Treasury has just concluded, well, no, it won't, pal. You see? It's bonkers. It's beyond bonkers. It's completely broken. It is precisely what Donald Trump described when he talked about being able to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote. Because you're still cheering or booing according to the colour of your scarf, when in fact, we're all on the same team. Just half the country doesn't realise it yet. Paul's in Camden. Paul, what would you like to say?
Yeah, hi, James. You said your rabbit in the hat.
Hole.
It's a fallacy. And
Hole.
the reason it's
rabbit in a hole. Rabbit hole.
Because people don't vote on just one thing.
No.
The election is not done on just one lie. It's done on a whole raft of things. So, if I vote for Boris, I'm probably going to do, I do it and I know he's a liar. Vote for Corbyn and I know, guaranteed, my mortgage rates will go up. So you ask me what I'm going to choose. Practical. You're not going to choose mortgage rates going up. That's it. And I'd like to leave you with this.
But you're trusting the liar.
I'd like to leave you with this.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, Paul. If you're not, prepared to indulge in a conversation, then you've called the wrong show. You're going to trust a liar, and you've somehow rationalised that to yourself because you think Jeremy Corbyn will cost you money.
Absolutely, and he's a liar.
No, that's fine. That's 23 after 11. What's the biggest lie Jeremy Corbyn's told, do you think? About, let's just say this week.
Can I just say one thing?
No, just answer my question. What's the biggest lie he's told this week?
Haven't a clue.
And there you are, tugging your forelock. John's in Ballymena. John, what would you like to say?
Hello, yeah. I just wanted to sort of generally speak more about the divide and how I see it. And I've kind of watched this now. You can say from Trump and Brexit that the divide and the narrative and the pushing and the biasness as well has been so overwhelming across the board that most people are just sick of that. Not so much sick of the politics; they're sick of all the biasness. And you know,
what do you mean by bias? I don't understand.
Well, to be fair, you've done a fine job of proving it this morning with the way you speak.
Yes, go on. So what do you mean?
Truth, and your truth is only the truth, and that's it. And anyone else is a lie, and you're an idiot if you don't believe your truth.
So where are you getting your Treasury forecasts from? Because mine's from the Treasury.
No, you can get specific on one point.
Well, that's all we're talking about today.
How about speaking about the bigger truth?
No. How about you tell me where you're getting your predictions on what's going to happen to trade in Northern Ireland from? Because I'm getting mine from the Treasury.
How about this?
No, John, just tell me where you're getting your information from, because I've told you where I get mine from.
Would you let me then? Would you let me?
Yeah, absolutely. Fill your boots.
Right, okay. I think the actual source of information has become so widespread now. Now, again...
That doesn't mean anything.
Sorry?
The source of information has become so widespread now. What does that mean?
Yeah. Via the internet and via the way people communicate globally
so where are you getting yours from? I'm getting my views on Northern Ireland Protocol, unfettered access to the UK internal market from the Treasury, John. So where are you getting yours from?
Let's take it broader. If you want
let's not. Just tell me where you're getting your information from.
No, because you can't do this. You're being overbearing.
I'm doing it now.
If you want to be more truthful...
where are you getting your information from?
If we look at the actual state of Europe, the financial state of Europe...
Yes, but where are you getting your information from on this?
To look at.
Are you going to tell me, John?
About Brexit and Trump and he said, she said.
Here's the Treasury. Where are you getting yours from?
You push divide. You push a so-called educated and working class divide. And because
David's in Enfield. David, what's going on?
Gary has called a fan of Boris Johnson.
Well, yeah, I'd say Boris is hitting the right notes if that's what you would describe to be a fan. And I think he's done so since he's coming against obviously Parliament, and that's not been working for the people, right? And he's hit the right points there, I think. And
what do you mean by Parliament not working for the people? Because of course the people put Parliament in there. They are an expression of us, aren't they?
I think we've done this argument, and essentially, the government, the Parliament were essentially blocking Boris's deal from going through. So I wanted to talk about essentially tactical voting, okay? And
all right, but just for the record, I don't agree with what you've just said, but go on, tactical voting.
Well, for the record, that's fine. I'm sure you don't, because a lot of the news media don't, because you're on the side of Remain. It's pretty obvious. But
I'm on the side of telling the truth, Gary.
Well, you know, you look at the institutions who are on the Remain side. A lot of them are funded partly by the EU. Look at John Major, the most wonderful sort of prime ministerial figure who's going to appear on like doing the same battle. He gets money from acquisition in Europe, right? You need to start calling it out in the media rather than.
You tell me all about that. Tell me all about that.
I'm not going to tell you all about it.
Well, tell me all about it. You're keen to have the disinfectant of daylight on it. Tell me all about it.
No. We're talking about reasons for tactical voting. What I'd say
you don't want to tell me all about John Major's
I want to talk about
dodgy EU links.
Before.
Yeah, okay.
Right. No one said dodgy. It's just saying he's made money from the EU, so therefore, of course, it's in his own personal interest to make a statement.
Tell me all about it.
Oh, look, I'm not going to go into that.
Because you can't, can you? Because you're making it up.
Well, I'm not a public figure, Sheila. I'm just a
You are now. You're on the radio. We're all public figures when we're on the radio.
Unfortunately not. So
we are.
What I say is this. From the point of view of tactical voting, if we want Boris to be held to account, what we should do in areas where we could do it is actually vote for the Brexit Party to hold them to account when he gets his majority, because he will get a majority, but it won't be a workable majority. So that's the point about tactical voting. And the last caller was, I think they literally got it wrong, and that's probably where we need to go, I think. That's my view of it. And I'm just an ordinary person.
So has Nigel Farage let you down then by withdrawing so many of the Brexit Party candidates?
No, Nigel Farage has played a blinder.
Has he?
Yeah, because, of course, what's going to happen is you'll get a Conservative majority, and then in the constituents where a Brexit Party are running against Labour, where the majority voted to leave the EU, they're going to go for the Brexit Party, and what you'll have is a coalition of the Conservatives and the Brexit Party in office.
Well, we had the very wise Professor Sir John Curtis on yesterday saying
Before you go on about John Curtis, is he paid by the EU or is he separate from the EU? Could you make it clear?
He's not
his
paid.
own interest?
He's not paid by the EU. He's a university professor in Strathclyde.
I'll listen to you then.
Yeah, and he is. I'm not sure whether you're going to like this word, but he's an expert in political polling.
Oh no,
and
Sheila, I don't like experts because I know everything. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just wondering because a lot of people don't. So I'm a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of experts.
Why would I not like the word expert, Sheila?
Because lots of people don't, and they often tell me they're done with experts. They're done with the elite.
Don't make an assumption. I don't mind it. Independent experts. I didn't
make an assumption. Fine. I said you might not, and you've made it clear to me that you do like experts. So,
what's he got to say?
Professor Sir John Curtis said yesterday that the Conservatives have pretty much hoovered up all but 6% of the Leave vote, right? So inevitably that means that the Brexit Party's impact on this general election will be minimal.
Right, well, it's very dangerous because what I'm saying to you is the reason for calling in is obviously people listen to LBC. I want to say it's very, very dangerous to presume that, and we've got to, in other parts, vote for the Brexit Party so that they hold the Conservatives.
But Gary, the actual leader of the party has withdrawn hundreds of candidates from seats.
I know. And the
so
reason
he's not helping you, is he?
No, he's helping. You're not listening.
I am listening.
The reason he withdrew the candidate was in order so that the Conservatives could get the seats that they needed in places where actually we could let Labour in. So basically stop Labour getting in. That's the reason. And he's played an absolute blinder, Farage, from my point of view.
But you were saying there that you wanted the Brexit Party to hold the government to account, but they can't if they're not in Parliament because they've given all their votes to the Conservatives.
Not all of the votes, not in every constituency. What we're hoping for is that Brexit Party will beat Labour in constituencies where the average voter voted to leave. It's quite simple. And as a result, we should have a coalition between the Conservatives and the Brexit Party, and we'll find that we will actually probably leave the EU as a result of that. Without that, it's very dangerous having Boris, as much as I'm a little bit of a fan, it's very dangerous just to let Boris do it by himself, because he'll just U-turn.
Well, listen, if you've got the energy for it, Gary, tune in for the 8 hours of broadcasting overnight on election night when we'll bring you the results, and then Nick Ferrari continues after that, and James O'Brien continues after that. Call in and we'll see whether we've got that coalition of the Tories and Brexit Party, and we can talk about it then. I look forward to it.
I know he's a moron.